Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Paul and today we've got ourselves a new project. Let's go and have a look at it, shall we? And here it is, a 2004 Clio 182. So I bought this car 2 years ago. My son plays under 12s footy, and as you do, I'm chatting to the other dads there, and one of the dads says, I've got a Clio sat on my drive rotting away. You can have it for 100 quid if you want. So I thought £100, it's going to be like a 1.4 standard Clio, you know. I'll just go there with the recovery truck, take it straight to the scrappy, make £40 straight on top. Pulled up, and this is what was there. So as Clios go, you look round it, and this is probably in the worst condition of its life. It's been sat out in the elements, gathering dust. It's got mold on the inside, full of cobwebs, and the birds have even started attacking it as well. So with this, he took it off the road back in 2014. Apparently it developed like an engine rattle. He said it sounded like a diesel. So he basically drove it home and parked it up. And that's where it sat until I went down and picked it up. So what do we got to do on this car? Let's start making a list. We got to sort out this engine rattle. We got to try and find out what it is and if we can repair it or if we need a new engine. Also, because it's been sat, the brakes are seized solid, so it's going to need discs and pads all round and probably the calipers taken off and rebuilding. Also, it needs an MOT, so we're going to go round, give it a service, give it a check over, give it a proper good clean. And then last of all, I think we should stick our 182 on the dyno. Let's see what the power figures are. I'm sure they're only about 150 horse at the wheels. And we'll see if after 18 years, if this has lost any ponies along the way. So let's get it on the ramp. Let's get cracking. Yeah, the brakes are seized. Well, hey, well, it's definitely a 2 litre 16 valve, covered in cobwebs. Oh, we got a performance air filter in there, so it should give us a bit more power as long as there's not like a rat or a squirrel crawled up inside it. No coolant in it. I think with this, to check the rattle, I mean, usually you wouldn't start a car if it's been sat for 8 years because of the cam belt or alternator belt. Anything can fly off and wreck the engine, but it's probably knackered anyway. So I think we should just give it a flick over, try and start it and just see what the rattle is. I'll go and get a battery for it, we'll whack that on and yeah, give it a go. Right, battery's on. Let's have a look and see if we've got any noise. I think that's the throttle body, hopefully it's not seized. I've checked the oil, it's got enough oil in it, I ain't bothered about the coolant. Making some weird noise. Right, let's give it a flick, see what it does. Don't sound bad. Don't really want to rev it. I'm starting to. There's a little noise at the top. Let's give it a tiny rev. That don't sound too bad. I mean, if it was like big ends, crank, anything like that, it would be a lot more rattly. That sounds all right to me. There's something up the top here. So I think next step before I start revving it harder, obviously, I think we should change the cam belt, put a new water pump on it, get the coolant level the right level, and do a service. And then go from there. But I wonder why, yeah, that's weird, unless it's when it gets hot. Yeah, let's start doing that. Let's go through it and service the engine so I can actually rev the thing. And then, yeah, see how we go. Sound. Oof. Have a look at the state of that. Obviously, where it's been just sat outside, it's got damp. Everything's covered in crap. I think what I'll do, along with doing the cam belt and stuff, I'll just start whipping stuff off. Headlights, we need to polish them because the lens is gone cloudy. Inlet manifold will get off because I think we've got to get it off to do the plugs anyway. And I'll just start cleaning everything up as I go along. So let's get cracking. I just thought I'd pause the video and show you how tight this massive engine is in this Clio. Let's face it, it's the typical French sense of humour. They make a brilliant car and they're like, you know, probably a Friday night at the end of the week, sat around a designing table going, oh, we need to make something a bit shit, you know. So what they've done, they've given you a cam belt interval of 5 years or 72,000 miles. And they've squashed it up so tight. I suppose it's a big engine, but it's so, I can't even get my fingers down there. That's the power steering pump, I think. And I mean, the alternator at the front can just get my fingers in. It's quite funny. You get some cars, Volkswagens and stuff, it's easy. This is going to be a nightmare. So let's carry on, shall we? So we're nearly there at long last. I can see the cam belt and it's in pretty bad condition, to be fair. It's starting to crack, it's starting to perish. All those years of being parked up hasn't done it any good. So yeah, glad we're changing it. I didn't realise on these, it's got like a variable valve. I think they call it a dephaser pulley on these. So the inlet cam has got an oil-fed controllable pulley basically, so off oil pressure it can advance or retard the cam. I think on these, instead of like the variable valve, like, you know, VTEC and all that kind of stuff, it's more of a emissions based addition rather than lots of performance. But I did a Volvo years ago that had the same kind of pulley and it rattled the same as what this did. I'm sure on the Volvo there was a controller and then there was a little gauze filter for the oil that had blocked up as well that needed changing. So while I'm here, I'm definitely going to order that. And also I found down here on the alternator bout side, there's a little pulley, and when you spin it, it's knackered. So I'm definitely going to order one of those and that dephaser pulley. So cut to another hour later of struggling with our tight space. I've got all our stuff off, which is good. Got the dephaser pulley in the vise, just with a bolt stuck through it for now. And you can see that this thing, even just with my hands, you can wobble it. So that's definitely knackered. We know our cam belt is pretty bad. It's all perished and there's cracks in it. And I've got that pulley off. Definitely knackered too. So I've got a genuine Renault kit. It comes with all the tensioners, which is good because that's knackered. So we're going to fit new water pump, cam belt, tensioner, all the rollers. I've also, with this Clio, I found my favourite shaped gasket ever, which I'll leave it to your imagination what that looks like. Well, the alternator belt, and well, it does the aircon as well. It doesn't look that bad, but we're still going to change it anyway because it's a complete, to do. Well, all that's off. I've also taken the wheels off. Having a black car with black wheels, it just looks a bit boring. So I'm going to send them off to the powder coaters to get them a different colour, which I'll show you at the end. And looking around it, the exhaust as well. We need to order in some new exhaust mounts because they have definitely seen better days. And also got all the brakes apart after I got the wheels off. You can see why the front brakes were seized. The pad material's actually come away from its metal backing. So I'm going to get all this back together. New brakes, new exhaust hangers, cam belt, alternator belt, everything. And we'll go for a start. Fingers crossed. It's not going to be rattly still. Right, I'll get back to it. And then if by magic, we're all back together. So everything's on. While I was there, did an oil and filter change, plugs, pollen filter, blew out the air filter. The coolant level is full. Also, run the mop over the headlights. Didn't do too bad of a job, if I say so myself. They look near enough like brand new. Got a sponge and just sponged off the bumper for now until we can get it outside. So let's go for the startup and see if this rattler's gone. Fingers crossed. That sounds all right to me. Ideal. That sounds mint. Right, time to get the brakes on, get that exhaust hung properly and get it outside for a wash. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Let's go. So our journey began at the start of the week with a dirty, broken, covered in bird poo Clio 182. It's now Friday. And just look at the difference. Even giving it a clean makes it look better, to be honest. There's still some bits I've got to do on it. The washers don't work. I tried blowing through the lines, but I think the pumps are just seized. And also where the bird poo's been sat on it for 8 years, it's ate into the lacquer, so it needs a good flat and a polish. I think going for the gold wheels made a massive difference. And also I colour coded that little bit on the side moulding just so it brings in the gold a bit better. But yeah, nearly finished. We've got an MOT here and then put it on the rolling road. So Hello everybody, I'm proper excited today because it is the first day I get to drive the Renault Clio Sport to work. So let's go and have an enjoyable drive.
Yeah, let's go. Come on, you f***ing thing.
Yes, there's nothing better than getting up in the morning feeling amazing. You're going to go out in your new car, have a nice drive to work, and the thing don't start. I suppose we've got to give it its dues. It has been parked up for 9 years, and to top it off as bonus points, it is a Renault, so we're going to get electrical gremlin problems. I couldn't understand though. I left work early yesterday. I picked up my son from school. We went home for a bit, and then later on in the evening we went out to his football practice and drove home, and everything was fine. So I just thought it was going to start this morning, you know. When I first tried it, you know, and it was going tick, 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 I thought it's the starter motor stuck. But I got a spare booster pack at home, which I brought in, Halford Special. Put that on it, and it started fine. So got it into work. When it is running, the battery light goes out, so it would suggest the alternator's charging. You know, I had no lights on the dash last night driving. But I've had it on charge now for 2 hours. And the thing starts up fine. So the first thing we've got to do is get the multimeter, I think, put it on the battery, you know, test battery voltage, test the voltage while it's running. So let's crack on. Got me £2, I think I got this from Argos multimeter. Let's plug it in. Right, what's our battery voltage? It is 11.73. Let's start her up, shall we? So, with it running, the battery voltage actually drops, you know, it should be 14 volts, well, 13.8 volts. The alternator's all connected, so it's going to be the alternator that's knackered. I can't see why the light goes off and everything says it's okay and it's not charging. It's the whole front off again. Joy! Love it! Yeah! So joining me today is a special guest. He's my twin cousin's brother-in-law from a different mother, and it's Paul. Hello everybody. All right, bud? Yeah, good mate, you? Yeah, not bad. So what's the plan of attack on this then? How are we going to do it? I reckon you start that side, I'll start this side, we'll meet in the middle. Sounds like a good plan. Let's crack on. There you go, mate. So, you got any good jokes, then? Oh, it's the wrong size. Let's have a think. Yeah, got one. So, Englishman, Irishman, Scottishman. They're all going to war in the desert. And the sergeant says, you can take one thing personal with you that's going to keep you safe in the desert. So the Englishman says, I'm going to take a massive hat because when it's hot, I ain't going to get sunstroke, the hat's going to cover my neck. And the Scottish bloke goes, I'm going to take like a massive bottle of water because it's going to keep me cool, it's going to be thirsty work out there. And the Irishman says, I'm going to take the door off a car. That is stupid. And they go, a door off a car? And he goes, yeah, because when it gets hot, I can just wind the window down. Terrible joke. I'll go. Yeah, go on.
A few moments later.
Many hours later. Nah, I'm only joking. But my cousin Paul got bored. I don't know where he is, probably on the toilet with his hands in his pockets, I expect. But it weren't that bad of a job. Bumper off, headlight off. Luckily the alternator sits right here, so you can get to most of it. Getting this across to you, what this smells like, if you can imagine, it's a bit like this. It's like probably French bouquet 1664 Renault smell, to be honest. Little trick I found out on a forum was this in here. So the tensioner, obviously when you take the bout off, detensions, and it's a complete sod to get the bout back on. But somebody on a forum mentioned that you could put a Jubilee clip round it and it keeps it tensioned. So, I mean, it's still difficult because you can't get in there, but it's a lot easier to get the alternator bout back on. So that helped out loads. Got the new alternator here. Let's crack on and get it in. Au revoir, alternator. Oop, better not chuck it, I think it's exchange. Right, it's back together. Now it's the moment of truth. Let's stick our bargain basement multimeter on and give it a start. Ooh, yes. Straight up to 14.2 volts, we're cooking now. The car is actually working. So let's hope tomorrow morning's drive to work is much less memorable, should I say, fault-wise, than today's. Brilliant. Right, let's go home. Today's the second day. Should I say enjoyable drive to work? I might as well just start doing this. So we already know we got a problem on day 2. Last night when I was driving home in the dark, this happened. That's right, driving down a pitch black country road with no lampposts or any lighting, and the car's headlights went off. Absolutely mint. I panicked, but luckily main beam still worked. So it's light out now, so we're going to have a nice drive to work without the lights on. Let's get it sorted. And here we are again, back in the workshop, joy. I think the Clio just prefers it in here for some reason because it spends more time in the workshop, in the warm, rather than it does on the road. Hopefully it's the last day of being in here. Fingers crossed, I said that yesterday, but there we go. So when the lights went out, you know, like a relay clicking noise. When the lights went out, that noise, but like a click, like 100 times a second, like click, 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 was coming from behind the glove box area. So the problem's around here, I think. So we'll take the glove box out, take this side of the dash apart. Let's have a look and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's an easy fix. So let's get cracking. So I just started to strip this down, took the fuse box cover off, and noticed straight away there's a bit of corrosion on the fuse box. And also, if you move the fuse box out the way, you can see there's like rusty looking water on top of what I think is the BSI unit. So the BSI unit controls everything you can touch with your fingers. So electric windows, wipers, headlights, which is what we're looking for. heaters, everything like that. Now, when I first got this car, the washer pump didn't work, and I noticed all the scuttle trim, the plastic trim where the wipers sit, wasn't on properly. So whether, you know, some water's got inside here in this corner, and that's what's causing our problem. So I think instead of taking the glove box out, I'm going to try and pull the BSI down from behind, get it out, and we'll have a look at it. So more fiddly work to be done. So I think I've found the problem anyway. There's some relays that clip onto the back of this that are badly corroded, so we'll sort that in a minute. But I want to pop this apart and just check there's no water gone inside this. This BSI, quite a few £100, I would imagine. So yeah, let's pop it apart and check it. Oof, how lucky is that? So the water has fallen in this corner and the BSI sits over to the other side. So luckily it's totally missed it and ran out the bottom where the clip mounts it to the body. Let's just pop it out, just make sure on the other side. Yeah, that looks good. No corrosion. Well, there is one little pin that's got a bit of corrosion. What does that do? That does a relay actually. So I'll blob a bit of solder on there, clean it up, we'll get this back together, and then I'll show you the relay I've found. So you can see under here these three relays that were clipped on to the back of the BSI unit. Now this last one, which I've Googled, good old Google, I found out is the headlight relay. So you can see it's had water, it's like rusty water coming out of it, and then if I pull the relay out, there we go, we can see that all the connections there are real bad. Now the relay works because it clicks in and clicks out. It just does it like 300 times a minute. So it's just going to be a contact issue. So I'm going to clean up all the little pins in the relays and the terminals, and then we'll retest our car. Sound. And there we go, the car is back together, and bonus, the headlights now work. I've tried sort of wobbling the car about and they're staying on, but I suppose only a road test will find out. And to top it all off, if we listen, it's just started raining, so let's hope the wipers don't stop too. So it's a very worrying drive home now with my hand ready for main beam just in case they switch off. But yeah, fingers crossed for day 3 I actually get to have a good drive in it. We shall find out. Wow, we're here. Day 3, drove home last night with lights. I think we're going to have an enjoyable drive to work at last. Let's get going. So finally, on our 3rd day of trying, I'm driving with no lights on the dash and no problems to report, which is good. Let's give it some shit. So this car, how can I describe it? It kind of feels like a go-kart. So I suppose a 182 is low anyway, but the previous owner of this has fitted lowering springs on it to make it even lower. So your arse is like an inch off the ground, and on a track this would handle crazy, but roads like where I live, all the roads are horrible. There's potholes like that one, lumps and bumps and everything, and it's not enjoyable round town, you know. I'd probably put the standard suspension back on, but apart from that, drives lovely, and there's no rattles either, you know. And engine wise, the thing pulls like you think, oh, this is going all right, and then about 4,800 revs, 5,000 revs, the thing just takes off. It's crazy. And what I'd love to see is that on a printout. So I think instead of driving to work this morning, I've got a pack of biscuits for my mate Dave, so let's go and see him and put it on the rolling road. Let's go. There you go, Dave.
Thanks, you.
Excuse fingers.
Yeah, no worries.
So it's a 182. What do you reckon is the horsepower?
170.
170, really?
Really?
What, are the wheels or engine?
No, flywheel.
Engine, right. Well, I'm hoping for 182. So,
Well, a lot of people do.
well, hopefully Renault weren't lying about their figures.
Well, usually.
Right, we got it strapped down. It's leveled up.
Yep.
Let's give it a go.
There we are.
So before I reveal the final power figures on the Clio, have a look at this. So we did 2 runs, and this was the first run. Pay special attention to me. Yeah, I tell you what, that effing hurt. Let me do a close-up and see if you can see. Look at that. So, Dave always says to me, if you're going to stand in here, stand right in the back, in the corner, and never go behind the wheels, behind the rollers, or anywhere near the rollers. So there's stupid me, wanting to see what the power was before he had finished. I walked stupidly over to the computer and was stood there, and a stone has fired out the tyre and hit me straight in the eye. Fair play. If that was an inch further up, I'd be blind. Worked out, looking back at the video, on the limiter, the wheels are doing 120 mile an hour on the roller, and it was just before it hit the limiter. So that's the speed. It shot out and smacked me right in the cheek. So I've spent all my time and hard-earned cash on this little French car, and the thing still wants to kill me. So the power figures, let's go through it. We got 173 brake horsepower at the flywheel. It didn't show in this printout, but it's 149 pound-foot of torque. And you can see between 4.8 and 5,000 revs where that power jump is, and that's what I was really feeling on the road, and it shows it there on the graph. I think there's still more to come on this car. The lacquer, it looks good from far away. You get up close, the lacquer's awful. Where it was sat outside for 9 years, it's really took a beating. So it's one of those, spend the money, or I could stick a set of knobblies on it, jack it up, put a cage in it and start rallying the thing. It don't owe me no money. You know, who cares what happens to it really? So that's it for me. That's it for the Clio, or for now. We'll see in the future. Subscribe and all that jazz. Leave a comment. I found out if new people watch the video and they leave a comment, that pushes it on to more new people. So if you've got this far, just say I'm still here right at the end. That'd be brilliant. So that's it for me. I'll definitely see you on the next one. Ta-da.